Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. We have Brendan Smith from Lucid Spark, and he is a UX designer. In our first episode, when we talked with Brendan Smith, we debunked or unpacked, I should say, unpacked the definition of what does it mean to be a designer, especially in today's world with AI being everywhere. And in this episode on Global Perspectives on AI, we're going to sit with Brendan again, and he's going to talk with us of what that experience is like being a designer on the AI team for Lucid Software. So there's being a designer in general using AI tools, but then there's also being a designer using AI tools to build AI tools. So a lot happening in this episode. I did want to get started with a quick icebreaker. So Brendan, are you ready for that?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. If you removed AI from your workflow for 1 week, what would you actually lose? Would it be speed, quality, comfort, your mind?
I mean, I'd lose some comfort. Like I've grown to really like rely on it for a lot of like thought, and we'll get into this more later in the episode, but just, relying on it for a lot of thought. And like using it as a sounding board. Um, so I think I definitely lose some comfort. Speed and quality, I'm not, I feel like I'm still kind of learning AI, as are we all. And so I don't know if I've like sped up so much that I would lose a ton of speed if I lost AI for a week, but
Yeah.
I aspire to get there.
Yeah, I would say, I think, we talked about this backstage, but I would lose that comfort of having institutional knowledge at a place where I can easily reference because it does make me nervous that I have to continuously hold that in my own working memory on top of all the other life things happening. So that comfortability of knowing, okay, all the information I needed to know for work is here and I can interact
Mm-hmm.
with it when I want to, I'd be losing that comfort. But
Mm-hmm.
I'd also be gaining a peace of mind because it's nice to just be unplugged away from it and just kind of back in touch to human interactions.
Yeah,
So, so in between.
sure.
Yeah. So I wanted to begin. So like again, in our last episode, we kind of talked about what's it like being a designer in general. And today I just wanted to know like what's it like being a designer that now that you're in that AI space, how does one know if they're using AI to think harder about a problem or if they're just avoiding thinking in general?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I think it can often feel the same, like, or you can think, yeah, like a lot of people think, oh, I can just have AI do all the thinking for me. But as we kind of talked about last week, like that doesn't always yield really good results. Like, um, I think thinking harder with AI is like it really involves judgment and thinking through and critiquing the output. Like, I think one tell that you can use to know if you're just avoiding thinking is whether or not you're directing the AI or if you're just accepting what it gives you back. Um, and
Hmm.
then like, can you critique the output? Can you explain why it's right or wrong? If you don't have like an opinion there, that kind of means you weren't thinking. You were just letting AI do the thinking for you.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Like you just mentioned something important. So it's like, okay, I could tell you're thinking if you're pausing to assess what happens next after the output, but also if you're questioning what's on the output, like using your own lived experiences to make that judgment of this is a valid output. It's not just spewing out BS. It makes
Hmm.
sense, actually. So, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And I had like an idea going into this conversation of like, or like the conversation with AI, like I had an idea going into of what I wanted out of it. Um,
mm,
and so I have like, I already kind of have a criteria that I'm using to judge whatever AI gives me back, as opposed to my manager just told me they want me to do this thing. AI, like, do it for me, please.
mhm.
Um, like those are kind of two different headspace is. And with the former, like you come with a plan with like criteria that you're going to use to judge the output. Like you get to where you want to be and you're in control of that interaction. Whereas with the latter, you're kind of letting AI do all your thinking for you, and you're probably going to end up with something that's not that impressive and might not even solve the problem that you're aiming to solve.
Yeah, so it's really important to walk in with not just the context of the problem, but the context of the problem in your ecosystem, in
Hmm.
the larger grand scheme of things, like what's the business trying to accomplish with this task? It's not just that I'm trying to produce something and here's a quick deliverable, boom, I'm gone.
Yeah,
So I want to unpack that a little bit more if you would, and you could always toss the question back to me too, so it's not just you being vulnerable on the spot.
sure.
But I did want to unpack the question of like, so what does it look like then if you're setting up your environment to work, let's say you're going to use your AI tool of choice and
Hmm.
you get a work item that you're like, okay, I'm going to get started. What is that thinking, judgment? How does that play out?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. At Lucid, we've been doing sort of like an internal, like educational program, like for UX. And I've been teaching the course about problem definition and defining
Hmm.
success. And as I've been like learning more about it and thinking through like my process for that, it's just made me realize like that is still like so important, maybe even more so like in this world where we're like using AI for a lot more things, because if you don't know what problem you're trying to solve in the first place, like you're not gonna, you know, I guess like maybe one example is like it's common in tech where like might be the sales team, it might be an executive, it might be a customer. Someone brings you like they're bringing you a problem to solve, but it doesn't always sound like a problem. A lot of times it sounds like a solution. Like we need to
Yeah.
like change our onboarding screen because someone doesn't like it, you know?
Yes, I
And
love
like
that.
there's a problem lingering, there's a problem in there somewhere that you need to solve, but like
There's a reason why they don't like it, so you
yeah,
gotta
there's a
find
reason why
that
they don't
out.
like it. There's a reason why they think we need to update the onboarding screen. They just didn't like tell you as part of that like initial conversation. And like I think as designers, it's like on us to do that inquiry and like figure out what that problem is before we go about solving it. And that's kind of a general principle of design, but I think when you're working with AI, it becomes very important because um, if you come to AI and your problem isn't very well defined, or like the success criteria isn't very defined for like what you're trying to do, like again, it's kind of like we were talking about before, like AI is just gonna fill in the gaps and it might not
Hmm.
be in a way that is helpful or in a way that you want. It does much
Yeah.
better if you give it like the context of your problem.
Okay. So that kind of like opens up two questions. I'm gonna say them both and you can choose your path.
Okay.
The one question I was gonna ask is like, so what does defining a problem look like? And what does it look like with you using AI? Are you just kind of like defining a problem? Is that people to people process involved, or is it also tools? And so that is the
Yeah.
question. And there's people to people process or tools. So that's where you can deviate
Yeah.
from there.
I mean, in what I'm doing as a designer, it's the problem is generally like a user problem. Like, is there a pain point, or is there like the way I define it in the course that I teach is like a problem is made up of like who is experiencing this problem, what is the problem, and what is the impact of that problem. So like an example could be um, you know, Grubhub users can't find and this is like implausible, but like Grubhub users can't order their food because they can't find the checkout button. And this
Okay.
means that they don't get their food from Grubhub, you know. And there's a lot of solutions to that you could explore to that problem. And I think that's really key is like first defining your problem like outside of any solution. Um, and then and I and it's not like a one-time thing with AI here either, because like kind of like solving a problem is a multi-stage process, and like AI can be utilized in a lot of the stages of that process. Like AI can help you like define the problem. It can be a thinking partner. It can like if you connect it to your company resources, it can do secondary research for you. Um, and then like when you get to a point where you feel like the problem's well defined, you can then like pivot to having it help you like ideate, coming up with ideas and exploring different paths. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, and maybe I've kind of like gone a little too broad with this, but
No, no, that's no, I was about to like what you went into was while you were saying all that, I was visualizing that double design, um, the double
hmm
diamond thinking. I know
yeah,
Vitaly Friedman, he also has like the triple diamond one, but it always starts with define the problem. And what you
hmm
just said about everything you said about define the problem, it starts with getting the right inquiries, having the right conversations. So that's people to people, understanding the process. So that's still you, the person
hmm
human in the loop in charge of getting that information. How you get that information can change too, but it's not
yeah,
being replaced with AI, it's being combined with it. So it's like now I know these are the data sources that'll help me define the problem. I can leverage AI to get there faster with
yeah,
competitive research or sifting through the data of, I don't know, people or customer data that you might have. So that was that was great.
hmm
I don't think you zoomed out too far at all. Um, in that process, I do have a follow-up question. Well, you mentioned that it's very important for people, like if you are using AI to help you define that problem or in general,
hmm
what's a piece of context about users or systems that AI you notice it gets wrong consistently, and how do you catch that?
yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's like a consistent thing it gets wrong as much as it's like, I mean, it's all dependent, it's all dependent on what context it has. Like if it knows a lot about you, if whether through like memory, like because you have a long history with like this AI tool, or through like files that you give it, like it does better. Like it makes better decisions. It like, um, gives you a better first draft of things. And so I don't know if there's like
Mm,
anything that I consistently see it get wrong, but I do see that consistently if you don't give it a lot of context, it will not give you a very good result. And like it'll extrapolate sometimes in ways that are like intuitive and are true, and sometimes in ways that take you further away. And so like it is still like your job to be able to know like does this pass the smell test like we were talking before, like
mm,
you need to go into that like with knowledge, with some like base level criteria that you can use to say, okay, yes, like that is in line with what I know about our user base. Or like bringing in context, because you might not know everything, but AI is really good at like sifting through a lot of information and like gleaning insights or like kind of having broad strokes takeaways and being at that shaping like what it gives you.
mm-hmm,
And so whether it's like you like judging it or whether it's you like giving it a knowledge base that it can access and then obviously checking its work. I love tools like
yeah,
Slackbot because it's really easy to see like the original message that it came from. Notebook LM is
mm-hmm.
similar. Like,
Oh,
it
I love that one.
summarizes things, but you're able to like see the source and like double check really easily. Um,
Okay.
so that's what I'd say there. Like, I think it's yeah, consistently wrong when it doesn't have enough context.
And then the user's consistently wrong thing is not providing enough context.
Yeah.
So it's funny, it's like the loop of that. It's like again that meme where you uncover a Scooby-Doo monster and it's like it's you. So because
Yeah.
you didn't give it enough context. But
Yeah.
so with that in mind, I did want to ask, so now that we know what the process is like, when you're building um you're building a feature or something you're trying to accomplish with AI in the picture. But now I want to ask the same questions for when you are building an AI native product. So, or an
Hmm.
AI native feature. Like, are there any discrepancies in the UX process when you're doing that? How does that process look like?
When you say discrepancies, do you mean like, is it different from like a AI, like a UX process when you're not working on AI features?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think a lot of the like kind of principles are the same. Like you're like the way that you manage the UX with like giving users feedback and understanding user intents and like kind of tuning AI experiences and output to meet those. But like it is like a different approach because it's like, and I'm sure everyone working in this space is very aware of like kind of the shift. Like when you're working on something that's not AI powered, it's deterministic. Like it's the user takes this action, we give them this result every time. Or, ideally, like that's the goal with like software that's not AI. With AI experiences, you kind of have to relinquish a lot of that control. It's a lot less of like a hard science. I mean, I know like under the hood with like algorithms and training and models and all that's like,
Hmm.
measurable and like hard science, but at least for us, like when we're like taking an off the shelf model and like tuning it to like a specific use case for our products, like it it kind of feels like you're like bridling a horse or something. Like you're just kind of trying to like give it enough direction that it can like do what you're looking for, but not like so much. Like something we've had to balance is being like avoiding being too prescriptive because when you're too prescriptive, like AI can't actually like do what it's good at, which is reasoning and
Right.
um, understanding the user's context and then like using the tools at its disposal to like achieve the best outcome. And so, and it's just like a lot of like whereas before it was a lot of like writing code that again is deterministic. Now it's like writing skills and creating tools that
Mm.
the AI can work with easily. Um, which is fun. Like as a UX designer, like I didn't used to get to be like I don't really have like a coding background, and so like before AI, I wasn't. I knew generally like how things were architected and like the limitations of our code and stuff like that enough to like solve problems in that constraint, but like I wasn't like writing code or like shipping things that really directly impacted users. And now with AI, like I'm directly involved in writing system prompts and writing skills because that is kind of like the how you determine the UX of an AI tool is by like giving it instructions
Yeah.
for like how to complete a task in a way that your users are going to want or expect.
How has that type of dynamic of like, okay, so now you've unlocked a new set of skills, which is the ability to understand the architecture of the code. Maybe not an expert in coding, like I can relate to that, like I can understand it better now, but I'm definitely not a coder. But how does it work when like you're working with your engineers and stuff like that? Has that helped or hindered the relationship or the collaboration in those spaces?
So I should clarify, like I'm not writing any code. Like I'm not in
Oh,
the
okay.
code in terms of like pushing PRs or anything like that. I guess what I was trying to say though is like the way that we create AI features in Lucid is like there's a set of tools. Like you could think of like there's a tool for adding a shape to the canvas. Um, that AI has access to. And then there are like skills that tell it how to create a flowchart or how to create a mind map or, these different outputs. And that's essentially like an instruction manual that just says like, okay, these are the tools you should use to create this output, and this is the goal, and like, kind of
Hmm.
guidelines. And so that's what I'm directly involved in, like writing and creating, is
Yeah.
those skills. Like telling AI, this is what we're expecting when a user asks for this, or when their goal is this, like,
Hmm.
this is how you should approach that. And it
Okay.
helps create a little more
So that kind of,
consistency.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I got
No,
really
you're
excited
good.
about what you said of like the skills. So that's great that like, you're kind of saying like, okay, I'm not just because I can do this thing with coding doesn't mean I'm gonna start doing coding in my role as a designer, but I am gonna use that as a tool to understand the code base to have better collaboration with my teammates. And in your scope of a designer, skills are something that are in your wheelhouse. With that being said, I kind of wanted to ask the next question of if I'm in a UX role right now, whether that be a designer or a researcher, if you feel that you could speak to that too, what are some skills that you would decide on, like, I need to hone in on understanding that? And I say there's no pun intended because I know we just talked about skills, skills to
Mhm.
make skills. But what other what other skills out there would you suggest, like, hey guys, this is the time to hone in on X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. Um, I mean, just judgment, I think, is the one that comes up a lot. Um, Being able to, like, there's that meme of Rick Rubin when he's talking about like how he doesn't have, he's like, I have no technical ability. And they're like, well, what are they paying you for? And he's like, my ability, like the confidence I have in my taste, and the ability I have to describe how I feel. It's like
Oh
very
my gosh.
funny and like annoying. But like I do think that is a differentiator right now, like where like you need to have confidence in your tastes, you need to have confidence in your judgment, like when, because that's the whole point of like if AI could do everything and it would be great, like I think a lot of corporate executives would go for that because it's way, like, at least right now it's like way cheaper than human talent.
Mm,
But humans, at least for now, are like have like judgment. They have like empathy. They have the context needed to decide like which path to take, um, and communicate that effectively. And so as a designer, I think the two things you can invest in most that will like have a big impact, because yeah, tools are changing all the time, models are changing all the time, but I think the evergreen skills are like getting really good at like defining a problem and like remembering that throughout the life cycle of like a project. Um, Having good judgment about like output and aesthetic and functionality, and also your storytelling capability. So the
mm,
ability to um, say what you're doing and why, and be able to connect with an audience, I think is really important in this day and age.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, everything you just mentioned, those skills that are like you better hone in on, none of them were technology skills. So for all listeners out there, when you replay this, they're not technology skills that you're honing in on at this time. At this time, the most powerful thing you can do, sounds like, is to hone in on those humanistic skills, like you just mentioned. And a lot of that is empathy and communication, storytelling, like you mentioned, and problem solving.
Hmm.
So, um, man, that is just I don't want to say it, but I'm like, I knew it because because it's like it makes sense like to come back around. Everyone's freaking out about oh gosh, I have to upskill, I have to learn this, this, and that. But at the core of everything you learn, no matter what technology it is those things like problem solving,
Mm-hmm.
judgment, storytelling, communication. So that sounds really comforting for everyone else who's out there. You know, job market's really bad right now, but there's a lot of hope and a lot of things that you can do immediately, even if you're not in an AI course right now. Those are things you can work on. So
Mm-hmm.
with that in mind, I did want to ask if you are ready for our activity. So in our activity, I prepared, I think about like different UX scenario, or not scenarios, but like different UX skills that will
Mm-hmm.
be helpful. And a lot of talk right now in the field of like, oh, what things should be automated, what things shouldn't be automated. So I thought it'd be cool to run that exercise with you of just kind of
Mm-hmm.
show you and give you like 3 seconds to rapid fire tell me protect, automate, and then explain why. So if you're ready
Mm-hmm.
for that, we'll go through them.
Yeah.
Do you have anything before we go through that, or are you good?
Oh, I guess one last thing I realized like that you should develop is flexibility. Um, because things are changing rapidly all the time. And just curiosity. Like I think all those skills are like human skills, but you do need to like you can't just like refuse to use whatever the latest tools are, even though they are changing rapidly, like it is still really important to like be up to date on that and embrace it rather than like running from it because
Yeah.
um both are important. But like all things equal, yeah, it is like the human side of things that makes the difference. Like in being successful in your career and getting hired. Anyway, just
Yeah.
wanted to be remiss if I didn't say that because
No, that's a good one. I'm glad you said that. Like you said, even if people are resistant to change, like you should be open to leaning in. That made me think of a follow-up question. So,
sure.
I'm curious for folks that are strongly feeling, a little bit of cognitive dissonance, like they know this is a cool tool to play around with. You can do so much more with it. But
Hmm.
oftentimes it's hard to balance that knowing like, the damage to the environment, but also the damage to what happens if you just stand still. You're kind of doing yourself that disservice of not
Yeah.
evolving with the market. But to that same point, the people who are standing still and saying, you know what, I don't want to give into that. I would rather maintain my coding skills or my design skills. What role do you see somebody that is hesitant to use AI as something that we can actually use to our advantage?
Um, yeah, there's a lot in that question. Like I think a lot about like the environmental impacts of AI, and I'm not like an expert. I would highly recommend everyone watch. Hank Green did a video about like water use with AI, and it was really instructive. Like
Mm.
it helped bring a little more nuance to the issue. I think a lot of people, like at least for me, like I had a lot of misgiving, or like I realized after watching that video that I had a lot of like misplaced assumptions about how that all worked and like the impact. There is the other side of it where it's like we don't need, I mean, at least for our needs right now, like the data centers that exist are plenty. Like the only reason they're like building a ton of data centers is because they're like maybe AGI will happen one day, and if it does, like we're
Oh
gonna
my
need this
gosh.
stuff. Which like you can debate whether the average person is gonna benefit a whole lot from that. Um, and so I don't love that part of it. But as far as like right now, if you're only holding back because you are uncomfortable about the environmental impacts, um, I would say watch Hank Green's video. Also, like default to using smaller models. Like all the AI tools let you choose different models. Like smaller models are generally good for pretty much anything you want to do with it. You're gonna get good results, and you're not gonna like it's not gonna be as like resource intensive. And so like um, it's hard to measure all this stuff, but at least like the last time I checked, I think like Claude's haiku model is like pretty comparable to just doing a regular Google search in terms of like how much resource it uses. Don't quote me on that. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's like true, but I remember like last time I checked, like that was kind of the vibe. So, but also it's very personal. Like I really empathize and like, um, and I do think, yeah, you do yourself a disservice if you don't embrace it. Because
Yeah.
it's happening, you know. I think there are like things that are scary and frustrating about all of it, and like what's new? Like it's always been the case
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
progress, and like not that doesn't excuse it, but um yeah, you kind of need to make those decisions for yourself. But for me, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like this is where I am, and I'm embracing it, and here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I too have mixed feelings about that. So you said that it's a video on YouTube by Hank Green?
Yeah,
Hank Green. And what is the keyword search for that? Is it just
let me let me find it. Hank
okay.
Green. Yeah, if you look up like Hank Green AI water, it should come up. And I'll put a
Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll include a link too
yeah.
for any listeners curious about that. I do, I empathize with people who are totally resistant to it because I have family members who are totally resistant to it, and I understand their reasoning, like, the privacy, the data
Hmm.
concerns there, and
Yeah.
of course the environmental impact. But I think there's a role for people who are skeptical about it, and that role would probably lean towards like governance, ethics, and evaluators. Like
Yeah.
even if you're not using the tools yourself, at least use your talents to make sure that the tools have guardrails because that's the direction that everything's going in. So that would be like
Hmm.
my 2 cents on that. And then as you were
Yeah.
talking, Brendan, I did have like one more question I thought of about skills and stuff before I
Hmm.
go into the activity because I want to make sure any designers and researchers listening have this. But what are your favorite models that you like to use and why? And any plugins or MCPs that you're currently really loving right now?
Yeah. I use Claude both for like my personal stuff and for work. Like I get a Claude license through work. Um,
Nice.
and at work, I love using like I connected to Google Drive. It's really nice to be able to like draft something in Claude Cowork and then have it in Drive to like edit. I will also I'll plug the Lucid MCP. We uh, creating diagrams is really nice that way. And I mean, really, the reason I like at work, obviously, Claude is like the thing that we have access to. But I mean, I also use it personally just because I like the way that they approach the user experience. Like, I like the feedback they give you at different stages. Um, yeah, I mean, they've done a good job of their branding. We like critiqued their website last week. Like, it feels very human.
Mhm.
Um, feels like they're at least trying to consider ethics as part of their mission. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, oh, and then I also I was doing like consulting work for a while, and I really loved like the linear Figma Claude combo. Like
Okay.
I get so this was for like I was doing freelance, and so it was all very like task based, and so I could get context in from linear, like the linear ticket, and then I just have it like do a first draft for me in Figma, and it was like really nice, like a nice little
Nice.
workflow that I
That
optimized for that.
streamlined. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for letting me continue to pull on that one thread because I
What
just
about
have so
you?
many things I
I'm
want to
curious.
follow up on.
I'm curious for
Oh,
you. Like,
my
what are you
favorite tools?
using? And
Yeah. So I have a ChatGPT license, the full version of it, and that is for work, and I do like it. And I've compared that with my personal paid Claude license, and I do appreciate that Claude. If I ask Claude to make a PowerPoint, it's really on point with it. I don't
Hmm.
have to iterate as much, whereas when I'm using ChatGPT, I do have to iterate. I know that there's plugins for ChatGPT to be connected to things like Canva or maybe other tools that are useful. But if I'm not using, like, if I only had to pick an AI tool and it's not those ones, but my favorite one to just make presentations is Gamma AI because
Mm.
you just get so much control over how you want to prompt it and what to do and the tone and change it. And it's specifically just for PowerPoint presentations, which I just have so much fun making even before AI. So I was like, I see it
That's
as like
cool.
an artful expression of knowledge. So Gamma, if you want to like, hit me up with a license for free, I'm here. Um, and
Yeah, I'll check it out. This looks
Cursor, I
cool.
use that one. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Cursor is pretty good too, but I feel like because I'm not a coder and I'm not somebody that's working from my terminal, it's not the best user experience for me. But I have heard
Hmm.
from engineering folks that I work with that they like it, but there are also some folks that prefer Claude. So I would say Claude is my favorite one right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, I am going to now share my screen so I can do this activity. So this activity is
All
going to be really
right.
short and then we'll wrap it up. So just confirm with me if you're able to see the entire screen. Um, let's go.
Yep, I'm seeing
What
that.
do you see on your screen? Is it just water on your screen right now?
Yep, just water. Looks good.
Okay, cool. Um, all right, we're gonna rapid fire through this. So you have 3 seconds to tell me protect or automate and why. Oh, well, just to decide protect or automate, and the rest you could take your time with explaining it. So
Sure.
here we go. Writing UX copy. Protect, automate.
Automate. I hate
Okay,
writing
why?
copy.
Okay.
So yeah,
It's
I mean,
something
a
that
lot
you
of
can
these,
easily speed up.
yeah, I mean, I don't think you should just like wholesale, like maybe if you iterate
Yeah,
enough, like you could get to a point where you've got like a UX copywriting agent that like does a really good job and you don't have to review it. But
yeah,
at least for like a first draft, I mean, AI is so good at writing and
it is.
mimicking a
Yeah.
style. Like
You,
it's it feels pretty dumb not to like automate that. But again, like
yeah.
making sure that it
Oops.
fits your brand and the humans in the loop there. But yeah, automate for sure.
Yes. All right, next one. Running user interviews, protect or automate?
Protect. That's the part of my job that I love the
Okay.
most. And I don't think, and it also like as a designer, that's where where like you create a lot of empathy, like doing user interviews, you develop relationships with customers. There's a lot of benefit beyond just like the information you get from the interview that comes out of running user interviews. And so I would protect that.
Yeah, that's where you get that context. All right, wireframing, a new flow, protect or automate?
Automate. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I think AI is great for a first draft. Like I don't like there's a lot of like tedious work involved in like getting a first idea down and like all like accounting for all the states and everything. Like doing a first draft with AI is really nice. Um, you can iterate from there. But yeah, automating the
I
wireframing feels
agree.
right to me.
I had to I had to do a wire flow a few times, and that repetitious clicking and making everything the same size and all that was a lot. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Uh, accessibility checks, protect or automate?
Yeah, this is also something that I think, or yeah, automate. Um, again, check the
Ooh, I
work.
wasn't expecting that. You said automate?
I mean, here's why. Obviously,
Okay.
human in the loop, check its work, but like
Hmm.
there's really extensive documentation around accessibility practices and how to implement that. Um, contrast checkers, but also like adding ARIA labels, like things like that. There's a lot of like standards around that. And as long as AI like has access to those and it like I think it can do a really good job and much faster than a human could. Um,
Mm.
and especially
Yeah.
like if you're a small business, if you're like you don't have like a full-time like accessibility designer or team or whatever, like something is better than
Yeah.
nothing,
That
you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially for like if you're doing that alt text, sometimes people struggle with coming up with the description for that. So that
Yeah,
kind of ties with the writing UX copy, because if you automate that in a way that fits these standards, I can see why you choose like this is okay to automate,
yeah,
but with human oversight. So,
yeah.
okay. Moderated usability testing. Protect, automate.
Um, well, I would say protect. I don't know if like unmoderated usability testing, obviously, like automate. But for moderated usability testing, I mean, AI models just aren't really great with like video yet. And so having an AI like
Mm,
run a usability testing session live with a user, I don't really trust its ability to like know what's going on and like
yeah.
ask good questions because so much of like usability testing is visual. And at least like our
Yeah.
current LLM models are not very great with video, and it's just very like resource intensive.
Right. And then you
So
pick up
like
on
it would
like,
be
people's
expensive even if
facial
someone did do
cues.
that. Yeah, facial cues.
Hmm.
I just think until we have really like much better image or video models, like this isn't really something you can offload.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I did have a quick question. You said for unmoderated usability testing, that one would be okay to automate. And I just wanted to ask, like, how would you automate that? Would that be like through an MCP like Playwright, or what does that look
That's a good
like?
question. I guess when I say automate, I just mean I guess like it's all just like how it is today. But
Mm,
also like
okay.
help like I also think AI can get really whether it's usability testing like moderated or unmoderated, like AI can be part of that, you know, helping you like come up with a guide and like tasks and rating criteria and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I misspoke.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd automate unmoderated testing.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's what this is for. We're just thinking out loud about it, right? So,
Yeah.
building personas, I feel like that one, I'm gonna let you answer, but I have thoughts on myself on that one.
Neither. I don't really do this, honestly.
Hmm.
I think if I did do this, I would automate it. Um, I haven't, and this might be like a blind
That's
spot
okay.
for me, but like I've made personas in the past and I've never
Oh, it
seen them
got,
be used very effectively. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
no, you just got, si yeah, I could hear you. It got a little bit silent when you said, I don't really do this, and then it got silent for a while, and then you said something in the middle of the sentence, so you could just
Oh,
rewind
okay.
it one time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So short answer, automate with the caveat that I don't really use personas in what I do. I've used them in the past. We've built them, spent a lot of time like creating personas that we felt like represented our users and only to like not really use them in practice or not to find them helpful in practice.
That-
Users are so
That's
multifaceted.
interesting.
So I think for like
Yeah.
I found it more helpful like when you're approaching a specific problem to have like a couple specific users in mind, like people you've talked to, people you've interviewed that kind of represent rather than like creating like a fake person. Like it's hard to have empathy with a fake
Hmm.
person, you know?
Hmm.
It's much easier to
Yeah,
have empathy with
yeah.
a real person.
Yeah. Like in when I was a UX researcher, my practice was like I would get those user interviews and based on that data, build the persona from there. And then I know
Hmm.
other colleagues have wanted to expand of like concatenating personas based on this is the type of persona that would fit, I don't know, X product, right? A persona that highly goes for
Hmm.
this one product, that's what will do it. But it's not necessarily something we do at the be like we don't start with a persona. We end up with a persona after the first round of discovery and defining that problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would
Yeah.
automate that process too, because it's like if you have the data already, now you can pop it into your tool of choice and then
Mm-hmm.
prompt it to extract what are the common themes that are happening of what problems they're trying to solve, where are they getting stuck, what do they like about it so we know what not to
Mm-hmm.
change, things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see what you mean of being in between with that one. Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do two more and then I'm gonna get ready for that um, wrap. So, mapping out the user journey. Oh my God, I want to hear your answer on this one.
Automate if you can.
Yes.
If you can automate, like,
Automate with what? Automate with Lucid Spark. Ta-da. There we go. Sorry, I had to. I can't help myself. I'm not getting kickback, but I wish. Um, so,
yeah, we gotta fix that.
yeah, that.
Yeah, automate for sure. Yeah, I think whether it's a new user journey or an existing one, like there's like an agentic flow that could help you automate this. Um,
Mhm.
and like find edge cases that you weren't considering. Um, like it's hard as like a human and like very tedious to like map out a user journey
Yeah.
from
Can
scratch.
you tell me really quickly, like a little bit more about what does it look like to, you said that part of the process could be automated with an agentic flow. For anyone
So
new
I
to
guess
what
for
that
like an
sound,
existing,
yeah.
I was thinking like for an existing user journey map, like if you're mapping a flow on a website or something, like you could use something like Claude's like Chrome extension to like map that. There's even like a Lucid feature that we
Okay.
just released called Process Capture, where you can like record your screen, like you doing something, and then it'll like create a flow chart with like screenshots that like shows that flow. So that's
What?
kind of what I mean by that.
Wait,
So if you go,
hang on.
if you go to like the
Okay, I'm in
Sparkle,
Lucid. Okay, I'm in the Sparkles.
uh, start a new
I'm gonna
chat.
start a new chat.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then show more. Yeah. I think it might
Is it
still be
maybe in
behind it.
Spark?
No, I
In
think it
Sparkle,
might
maybe.
just
Sometimes
be.
it's,
It might just not be on for your account yet. Oh wait. Yeah. No, it's not on for your account yet. So sneak
well, I'm
peek.
also on the free
It might.
version. I'm on the free version,
Oh,
so
that's probably
right
why. Yeah. I
for
think it's only
for
available.
after work activities.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's only available on Enterprise. But so
So
that's
like
one
I
way.
said,
And then like
Lucid,
for
I'm here for
yeah, for a new user journey, um, I think the way you automate that is just by
Yeah.
yeah, the way
All
that you
right.
do anything with AI.
Okay. I'm so excited to log back in and test it out on my work account because that is going to be so useful for so many people of like
Mm-hmm.
it does take a lot of work to do that and the exercise of doing that does help you consolidate the information of the user journey so I think
Mm-hmm.
it's still good to do that but if you can speed it up and then now your role is to step in and refine and double check information that just alleviates that load of information for you
Yeah.
so yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's a wrap, Brendan. I was gonna do one more episode, but I mean not more episode, one more sticky notes, but I think we're at time and we got 1 minute left, so I'd rather use that 1 minute for you to give a message to anyone listening right now.
Um, yeah, I think just echoing some of the stuff we talked about, like embrace a beginner's mindset at this time. Like AI is still really new. We're still figuring out how to use it effectively at work. And I just think anyone who says they figured it out is maybe they're either a genius or they're like at the bleeding edge or they're lying because they wish it were true. And I think
It's too
you
true
learn a
from a
lot more.
lie.
You learn a lot more when you admit that you don't know stuff and you don't know what you don't know, and
Oh,
you try
yes.
stuff and see what works. So that's what I'm doing, and yeah, just encourage everyone else to do the same.
Yeah. Last question about you said you were teaching a course. Is that something that's going to be available to anyone interested in signing up, or is that exclusive to internal in your work?
Yeah, it's just like one. like one lecture in like a series that we're
Oh,
doing
okay.
internally right now. So it may eventually be like something that's offered externally, but right now it's mostly just for like developing like Lucid designers.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need beta
So
testers,
yeah,
I know a bunch, so let me
okay,
know.
I'll let you know.
Alrighty then. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Brendan, for
Thank you,
being with
Jess.
us again. This is awesome. I learned a lot, and yeah, that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone. Take care.